Hi, it's almost like a week later, I'm not gonna lie. I filmed the clips that you literally just watched on Saturday. It is Friday night. It's been a week. I just have not felt like picking up the camera. I haven't felt like reading. So I just haven't been forcing myself into doing anything that I literally just was not feeling. But I wanted to pop in and say hi, hello, welcome, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia if you are new here, and as you just saw, I went to the bookstore. I've been going to the bookstore a lot. If I'm being honest, I feel like me buying books again has been a little therapeutic. I've definitely just been budgeting in for when I go out, and I've gotten a lot better at, you saw, just getting one or two books when I go out, not doing a whole haul. I figured I would start Tusk Love by Thea Guanzon. I have been eyeing this one since it came out a couple of weeks ago, which is kind of funny. Sorry, something's poking me. Oh, it's just the pillow. Which is kind of funny because I don't know anything about D&D. I used to nanny for a family where the father played D&D. My fiance Diego actually used to play D&D. He used to have a group he'd play with every Sunday afternoon. They would get together and play D&D when we first started dating. So I've known people, or I know people, Diego and I are still very much together. I know people who play D&D. I've never played D&D. Understand the gist of it, so I'm hoping that this isn't too D&D heavy, I guess. I don't know. I am also hoping to finish it in this vlog, but just warning, this vlog might be a two-parter. So the next part might come out in 2 weeks, it might come out in a month, but I promise it will not take longer than a month for me to publish the second part of this vlog. But I promise it won't take over a month to publish the second part of this vlog and finally tell you my thoughts on this book. But if you have read this book, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Just for the moment, no spoilers, please, because I'm just starting it. But I figured I would pop in and say hello. I'm going to read for a little bit and I will check in again with you either, I guess, later or tomorrow. I guess we'll just see where the vibe takes us. Also, lately when I have been picking up books, I've either been devouring them in one sitting or slowly reading them over a week or so. That's also why I said this vlog might be two parts. It probably will be. I don't know how obsessed I'm going to be with this, but I will say it's not super thick either, so I don't know. We might get through it quicker than we think. I'm gonna go read now because I'm starting to get off track, but I hope you're doing well and I'll see you in a little bit. Also, just a side note, I opened the book to just peruse and I noticed there's this little note. It says, "Psst, hey, look underneath for Jester Lavor's super cool bonus jacket image." And I did some Googling. Jester Lavor is a D&D player. And I guess this, Tusk Love by Matilda Macaria? Sorry, I don't know how to say people's names. I'm sorry. You should know this about me by now. But there's this book art for the in-game version of Tusk Love, which I thought was really fun. I also think it's really funny that I also just find it funny that I'm discovering lore about things that I know nothing about. I really find my ignorance about D&D and my interest in this book kind of comical. I don't know, but I'm gonna stop talking about it and go read it. Hi, I just wanted to jump in quickly because I am about 100-ish pages into Tusk Love and I'm honestly really enjoying myself so far. I was kind of nervous going into this because I'm not familiar with D&D. I've never played D&D. Like I said kind of earlier in the video, I know people who play D&D. I myself have just never played, so I've never really experienced the game. But I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I'm sure there are probably some references in here that are specific to D&D, and if you're familiar with D&D, you'll probably get them, but because I don't get them, and they're honestly just flying right over my head, I don't even think I've noticed any references to D&D if there are any in here. So honestly, if you're like me and you're just gonna read it for the fantasy romance aspects, please do, because I'm having so much fun. I genuinely like the characters and the world and the writing, and to be quite honest with you, Tusk Love is reminding me a lot of Sword Heart. I do have a review on Sword Heart. I will put it up here, link it in the description so you can find it. And I genuinely enjoyed Sword Heart, but Tusk Love feels like Sword Heart, funner, lighter little sister. There are so many similarities, and I'm probably going to regret calling it Sword Heart's little sister because I do get the vibe that Tusk Love is a little spicier than Sword Heart was. Sword Heart on the spicy scale was maybe 1 out of 5 or 1.5 out of 5 chili peppers, but Sword Heart Tusk Love is just very fun. I'm having such a fun time, and honestly, if you haven't read Sword Heart, I don't know how Tusk Love ends because like I said, I'm just getting to the 50% mark into it, but if you haven't read Sword Heart, you definitely should. And that's not to say that Sword Heart is old and boring, but the female main character in Sword Heart is much older. The female main character in Tusk Love is 20. Guinevere is 20, our male lead Oscar is 23, whereas in Sword Heart, our female main character in Sword Heart, Hala, is I believe 36, and Sarkis has been trapped in a sword for centuries. So a bit of a different dynamic between the two, but still very fun. I'm going to stop comparing them now, but I just, like, if you like the vibes in this book, then read this book. Is kind of where I'm going. And like I said, there are obviously differences. As far as I know, Sword Heart has no connection to D&D or anything like that, but I'm just having such a fun time with Tusk Love. I think what I like the most is how Guinevere and Oscar are so very different and they're so very young, but they don't feel that young. Like I said, Guinevere is 20, Oscar is 23, but Oscar's had a very hard life. He's going through a lot of grief right now, and so he comes off as far more mature than his actual age. And Guinevere is the opposite, where she just had very strict parents who drilled fear into her, and so because of that, she's not necessarily more mature for her age like Oscar is. Instead, she's a little bit more anxious, I guess is the best way to put it. Also, did I even tell you what this book is about? I apologize, but a very brief summary, long story short, kind of TLDR, is Guinevere is the daughter of successful merchants, and they essentially send her to travel alone for the first time, and of course she gets, her caravan gets taken over by bandits, where she then stumbles into Oscar, who decides that he is going to escort her the rest of the way on the Amber Road to her parents and essentially keep her safe. They come up with this kind of bargain. Guinevere is like, obviously I can't get there on my own, but I'm gonna get there on my own, so if you decide to help me, my parents will pay you handsomely. And Oscar, who's aimless at the moment because of said grief he's going through, is, you know what, I'll do it. I can't leave you on the Amber Road that's full of bandits and mercenaries and other dangerous creatures to just fend for yourself. But Oscar also, he definitely falls for Guinevere first, and I find that interesting. And I think a big part of Oscar deciding to help Guinevere is that initial growing attraction. Guinevere takes a minute to come around to Oscar, but right off the bat, Oscar acknowledges just how beautiful she is. And I really appreciate that they're not enemies. I really appreciate that they're developing some sort of cordial friendship before anything else, and it's a very nice change of pace to all the enemies to lovers fantasy romance books there are right now. So I really like that about this, but essentially them teaming up is what sets the book in motion. There also are other things going on. A big part of the reason why Guinevere has to get to the coast, which is I guess at the end of the Amber Road, which is a merchant travel pathway, is because she is currently betrothed to someone her father bartered her off to. I don't know. Arranged marriages. They just want a title in the family. And like I said, Oscar is kind of aimless, so I think to his end, part of it is that he wants to do the noble thing and protect Guinevere, but yeah, I also think he's very much falling in love with her, and it's going to be very interesting once they do finally get to the end of the Amber Road and the Menagerie Coast, and I guess we'll have to see because I'm not there yet. I also don't want to spoil it even when I do finish it. I also wanted to add, I'm not going to finish it in this video. This is my send-off until the next one. This is going to be a 2-part reading vlog. I wasn't expecting to do it in 2 parts, but I have just been reading very slowly, which is great for me, probably not so great for you. But essentially, I really just want to take my time over the next week and really finish this book and really soak it in and enjoy it because, like I said, I've really been enjoying it thus far. I didn't want to rush through it this weekend just so I could finish the vlog and finish the video and then just have it all done and out of the way. I didn't want to rush myself, so I am going to spend the next week or so finishing this, and I will have my second half of my review for you in 2 weeks. So I appreciate your patience. I apologize if that's disappointing. I know my previous few reading vlogs I've done have all been one part, but that was when I literally just spent the whole weekend reading one book and neglecting all of my responsibilities. But I have quite a lot of things to do. And like I said, if you didn't know, I'm coming out of burnout, a reading slump, just a really depressive, hard time episode in my life. And so I have to really be careful to just not push myself too hard or push myself too much and not force myself into doing things even that I enjoy, because then the response to that is not doing anything anymore, even things that I enjoy. And I know it's probably maybe a little dramatic, but it's just the truth. I'm just being honest. In an attempt to have some balance of respecting my boundaries, but also not leaving you hanging, like I said, this will be a 2-part reading vlog. These are just my thoughts on the first half of the book so far. Like I said, I don't have too many because things are still unfolding, and I have a feeling things are going to really pick up and get very interesting the next half of the book. And that's not to say things haven't been interesting thus far, because they have, just in a different way, just in more of a setup, getting to know the characters, getting to know the world kind of way. This book definitely did not linger. It did not take time to get interesting. I've definitely read quite a few books where it took 30% in to finally be like, this is getting good. This book is not like that. Tusk Love pretty much starts right from the very first page and just pulls you in to this world of Guinevere and Oscar and their story. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm going to finish this and I will see you in 2 weeks for part 2, which will just be the second part of the reading vlog, my thoughts on the rest of the book, as well as just like a mini review, I guess. I feel like both of these are just chunks of the review. If you couldn't tell, I don't have notes or a script or any sort of sounding board to keep me on track. So I feel like I'm kind of going all over the place, but I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one so we can finally finish talking about Tusk Love. And based on what I've read so far of this book, I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend it because I do not think the ending is gonna be ridiculous or over the top, or I'm gonna hate it, because like I said, it's really giving Sword Heart vibes, and I loved Sword Heart. The ending of Sword Heart was a little flat, if I remember correctly, but I didn't mind it because it wasn't over the top and stupid like a lot of endings are. So I am looking forward to finishing this. If you've read it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.